Welcome back to The Explainer. Today, we're diving headfirst into the frantic, high-stakes chaos of Wall Street to unpack the brilliant literary mechanics of O. Henry's classic short story, The Romance of a Busy Broker. Now, if you've ever felt completely overwhelmed by your workday, well, this story takes that feeling to an absolute, almost absurd extreme. We are going to look at how O. Henry crafts a world so intense that it literally drives the humanity out of its protagonist, all leading up to one of the most famous and perfectly executed twist endings in literature. We're starting right out of the gate with this wild observation. The text instantly establishes our protagonist's transformation. You see, Harvey Maxwell isn't just a guy with a mountain of paperwork. The author literally describes him as a machine. He is no longer a man, he's moved by buzzing wheels and uncoiling springs. And this isn't just a passing description either. It is the absolute core of the entire story. O. Henry is setting us up to watch a machine function, not a human being. So here's our game plan for today. 1. The busy broker's world. 2. The classic O. Henry twist. 3. Characters, machine versus human. 4. Dissecting the stylistic devices. And 5. Theme, the cost of business. Part 1. The busy broker's world. Setting the scene in Manhattan. Think about your busiest day and then multiply it by 10. This metaphor perfectly captures the suffocating, relentless pace of Harvey Maxwell's day. O. Henry writes that the broker's hour isn't just crowded. He compares time itself to a massively overcrowded streetcar, where even the minutes and seconds are clinging to the straps and packing the platforms. I mean, there's literally no room to breathe. The ticker tape is reeling out, the phone is chronically buzzing, men are shouting over the railings. It's a miniature hurricane, and Maxwell is entirely consumed by it. Moving on to Part 2, the classic O. Henry twist, mapping the closed plot. The timeline here is unbelievably tight. We're talking a classic closed plot structure. We start at roughly 9:30 in the morning with this really serene description of Miss Leslie, but by 10 a.m., the chaos of the office is in full swing, and the tension ramps way up as Maxwell navigates the storm of the stock market. Then, right at the noon luncheon hour, when there's this tiny lull in the uproar, the denouement hits. Maxwell suddenly realizes he loves his stenographer and frantically proposes to her. The entire narrative engine is compressed into just a couple of hours. That's what makes the rapid-fire conclusion feel so incredibly abrupt and urgent. And boom, the twist lands perfectly. Just as Maxwell begs her to talk quickly because the market is crashing, Miss Leslie smiles through tears of amazement and reminds the overworked broker that they actually tied the knot the night before. It's crazy, right? But the pacing we just talked about is exactly what makes this so effective. O. Henry has wound Maxwell up so tight, making him move like a toe dancer and a harlequin from desk to door, that we completely buy into the fact that his brain has simply deleted his own wedding from his memory just to make room for stock prices. That brings us to Part 3, characters, machine versus human, a tale of two worlds. To make a twist like that actually believable, O. Henry relies heavily on direct characterization and stark juxtaposition. On one side, you have Harvey Maxwell. The text uses terms like buzzing wheels, impersonal, and clockwork. He literally represents the cold, mechanical world of finance. But on the exact opposite side, we have Miss Leslie. She is described as softly radiant and kind and frank. She brings the sweet odor of lilac into the stuffy office. She represents the soft, sweet world of nature and humanity. So, what's the real conflict here? Well, on the surface, it's a physical conflict, man against man in the brutal arena of the stock exchange. But fundamentally, it is a clash between the mechanical world of business and the natural world of human emotion. O. Henry explicitly writes that in Maxwell's world of finance, there was no room for the human world or the world of nature. The tragedy, and honestly the comedy of the story, is that the machine almost fully overwrites the man. All right, Part 4, dissecting the stylistic devices, the mechanics of the text. O. Henry packs his toolkit here to really immerse us in the broker's reality. The text is packed with epithets, metaphors, similes, periphrasis, anaphora, enumeration, and ellipsis. Each of these acts like a gear in O. Henry's linguistic machine, so let's break down a few of the most impactful ones to see exactly how he manipulates our reading experience. First up, similes. You probably remember these from English class, a figure of speech comparing two different things using like or as to make a description pop. O. Henry uses them to seriously amplify the chaotic energy of the office environment. This quote perfectly anchors the concept. The clerks in the office jumped about like sailors during a storm. It completely captures the sheer physical frenzy required to survive the stock market's daily hurricanes. By comparing mundane office clerks to sailors fighting for their lives in a tempest, O. Henry elevates the stakes of the Wall Street trading floor. He makes the reader feel the physical danger and the swaying instability of Maxwell's workday. Next is a really fun one, paraphrasis. Basically, it's taking the long, roundabout way to say something simple. Instead of just stating a plain fact, the author substitutes expected words with elaborate, often humorous descriptions. Picture the confidential clerk drops this absolute gem when describing the absent agency stenographers who were supposed to show up for an interview. Instead of just saying, "No women have arrived," he says, "Not a single picture hat or piece of pineapple chewing gum has showed up." It adds this wonderful layer of cynical characterization to picture. It shows us exactly how the men in this office view the outside world, not as people, but as a collection of superficial accessories and annoying habits. And of course, it further isolates Miss Leslie, who we know deliberately avoids all that pomp and show. Now let's talk about anaphora. This is the repetition of a word or phrase at the beginning of successive clauses, and it's used to create rhythm or emphasis. Take a listen to this passage introducing Miss Leslie. She forewent the pump, she wore no chains, she had not the air. Notice that? The rapid repetition of the word she just hammers home how decidedly pure and, as O. Henry calls it, unstenographic she remains in a highly materialistic environment. It creates a calm, deliberate rhythm in the text, which is the exact opposite of the chaotic, jagged rhythm used to describe Maxwell's trading floor. The anaphora essentially forces us to slow down and really look at her, just like Maxwell eventually does when he smells her lilac perfume. Finally, Part 5, Theme. The Cost of Business, Losing Humanity to the Ticker Tape. So, what's the big takeaway from all this? It's a massive thematic warning about the dangers of the grind. Letting our obsessive work habits consume us comes at the cost of our basic humanity. Maxwell was so dialed into his mortgages, margins, and securities that he literally forgot his own life. Yes, the story is a comedy, but it's a comedy built on a rather terrifying premise, losing yourself entirely to your job. Miss Leslie's tender, knowing response is just the perfect punchline. It brings Maxwell, and us as readers, crashing right back down to reality. Notice, she doesn't yell at him. She recognizes the disease of busyness that has infected him. When she says, "It's this old busyness that has driven everything out of your head," she articulates the central theme flawlessly. She forgives him, sure, but the stark realization remains: the machine almost won. So, as we wrap up this explainer, I've got to ask you, has the business of life ever driven everything else out of your head? O. Henry wrote this story over a century ago, yet the frantic pace of the busy broker somehow feels more relevant today than ever. We might not have ticking telegraph tapes anymore, but we definitely have endless notifications, emails, and alerts that try to turn us into machines, moved by uncoiling springs. So take a breath, smell the lilacs, and don't let the busyness of life make you forget the life you're actually living. Thanks for joining me.